we need to talk about AOC. And AOC was asking a question. AOC is asking for names of accounts and podcasts that Trump voters listen to. And of course, I had to, retweet this and told her to watch the Jesus Enrique Rosas show. I'm sure that she's going to snitch on me. Oh, this guy is a Latino Trumper. He's not even a U.S. citizen, and he's doing all this info warfare. And let's see what she has to say. Trump voters, which podcast accounts people do you like? Why are you doing this, AOC?
Which podcasts are you listening to? Which accounts are you subscribing to? I'm interested, like genuinely. Let me know which ones specifically, which accounts, which podcasts.
I am the one that you need. What is the worst thing that can happen? Maybe she falls in love with me and she begins attacking me. That we enter a love-hate relationship on X, on all these platforms. I become a scandal on AOC's. People are saying that she is pregnant. It's not official yet. And so many people saying that she's got that pregnancy, glow and face. I agree with that, by the way, but it's not official yet. It should be a bit complicated to come forward with that reality, since that her fans are so pro-abortion that will be a bit complicated. But if she's pregnant, great for her. I hope that she has a smooth pregnancy, and if she is pregnant, we don't know, but she absolutely looks the part. AOC just called Kamala a fake person that people were sick of. Maybe not directly, but you have to listen to this. Listen to this, and you tell me what is she saying.
Personally, I don't. I think that a lot of voters really don't like fake people.
Okay, a lot of voters don't like fake people.
And they're sick and tired of fake politicians.
They're sick and tired of fake politicians. All right, and maybe they are also sick and tired of having politicians being shoved down their throats when state politicians haven't earned a single vote. No delegates, they're just picked, and that's it. Maybe they're tired of that.
And so what I actually think is worse is saying something you don't believe. And so if during the entire time in campaign season, you're saying that you're down with trans people or like the LGBT community.
I find it interesting that she took so long. She took this long pauses to talk about these topics. It's like these topics are uncomfortable to her. And these topics, the trans people and LGBT communities, should be like no big deal for her. Well, it should be no big deal for anybody, in fact. So I don't know why she was taking such a long time to say it, and especially that talk show at the end. Well, I have my reservations.
And then you lose an election, and then the next day you say all that stuff was wrong. I actually think what people are more upset about is someone was doing something they didn't believe and just saying something.
I think that she's got it backwards. It's not that you're going to take away, if you stand for trans rights and LGBTQ rights. For starters, no politician nowadays is against LGBTQ rights. None whatsoever. It's strange for me to have gay and lesbian family members and gay and lesbian friends on both sides. You could have gay and lesbians. I have gay and lesbians friends that are so pro-Trump that is baffling. There is just full-on MAGA, and others that are just devastated because they think that Trump hates them. And my question is, where do you get that from? So that is a non-issue, because at no point Trump has said anything about taking away your rights. all that Trump has said in all cases about the trans agenda is about children. That children should not be given puberty blockers or surgeries or nothing of the sort. Maybe if you are 18 years old, you can do whatever you want. But children should not be pushed this in schools. It's that simple. That's only what Trump has said. And some members of the LGBT community have complained about this. They don't like it. The trans community, of course, are against that. But why would you be against that? If you are 18 years old, you are free to do whatever you please. But these children that are having this agenda pushed onto them at schools, that is simply horrific. That should be eradicated. But when they say, oh, the rights of the LGBT community, unless you have been brainwashed by the left-wing media, you realize that is a non-issue. Why are you talking about that? Nobody, Trump is not against it. And they realize, and so many Democrats and the LGBT community realize that the Democrats are lying. And that's how you lose elections. That's how you address non-issues and lose elections.
Like, if you actually weren't about that life, why did you campaign as though you were?
That's the problem. Because you're campaigning on non-issues. Like abortion, as in, women lives in danger. How many, it's like, that is a non-issue as well. I have yet to make a dedicated video about abortion in the United States. I'm doing my research to make a dedicated video for that, so people realize, so you can send that to your family and friends who are still worried about that. You can still, if you have an ectopic pregnancy, you can still have an abortion in any state of the United States, in any state. But it's like 95% of abortions are women that just don't want to have the baby. It's like some elective abortions. And, well, there's so many ways of contraceptives. That should be another way. That should be the way, not abortions. AOC thinks that Democrats lost because they didn't give more things away to illegal aliens, including a path to citizenship. This is just insane. Maybe they should make her the leader of the party. I think that's a great idea. Make AOC the leader of the party. Double down in identity politics. I will not complain. I will cheer for her. Go for it. Go for it. I was just wondering if she was on the toilet. Oh, it certainly looked like it, Samantha. It certainly looked like it. Let's see what she's saying
Another
now.
area that I thought was really interesting was hearing a lot from undocumented people and, importantly, families of undocumented people who do vote, saying that there's been no relief from Democrats or anybody else on immigration path to citizenship for 10, 20, 30 years.
You know what happens, AOC? I'm going to tell you what happens. The thing that happens is that there's so many people asking for this. There's so many people. We're talking about millions of people that have to be, processed and have this court dates like months in the future, and they have to wait for months, and then you have this huge backlog, and you let more and more people inside the country. Maybe if you stop from accepting more people inside the country, you can process whoever is inside the country and say, okay, you committed a crime. No, you will be deported. You enter illegally, you want asylum. Okay, right. Well, maybe you can have an opportunity. We can process your request better. We can see if you are actually being prosecuted or you are at risk in your home country, because that is the principal reason for asylum. Oh, we are at risk in our home country, and that happens a lot with Venezuelans, and in which everybody knows that we live in a narco tyranny, and that is a real thing. okay, then maybe that could be the way that they process all this, all this, and maybe that way you can speed up that pathway to citizenship if the people who apply for it, fulfill all the requirements. And the idea is to prioritize those who had done it legally, and those who have entered illegally, you don't give them handouts, you don't allow companies to hire them, you don't give them the benefit of just staying in the United States, because that stimulates, that just stimulates more people coming to the United States. Wait, maybe I can get a job somewhere. No, if a company hires illegals, then that company is punished. It's that simple. You don't give illegals debit cards like in New York City. You don't give them all this stuff for free. Maybe, just maybe, if you're undocumented, you don't have any other way but to rely on your friends and family in the United States to support yourself. And your friends and family are going to say, hey, you know what? We cannot support you this way. You have to do it the legal way. That is the issue. That will be the humane thing to do. Not give this false hope to people, but do the right thing. Let's do things the right way, as Tom Homan says.
This is something I've been warning about, by the way. And that the influx of asylum seekers, there's a lot of misinformation about what benefits they do or may not receive, etc.
We would like to know if you could tell us what we see that is happening in New York City, precisely.
That has generated a certain resentment. And I do find it very interesting how, once again, the tool of us versus them has been drawn even in this situation. I don't think a lot of people, undocumented people, realize that Trump views them as criminals too. By that I mean...
But the problem is that it's not even the fact that they could or not be criminals. But the fact that they are crossing the border illegally, they are committing a crime in itself. That is so simple. And if they're not only committing a crime by crossing the border illegally, you're giving them handouts, you're giving them benefits, and prioritizing them over veterans and homeless people, citizens of the United States. That doesn't make sense to anybody. That shouldn't make sense to anybody whatsoever. But they somehow want to do it. I already told you on my video why governments or how governments use illegal immigration to control you. We already know why they do this.
There's a lot of people that were like, oh, he's talking about undocumented people who are quote-unquote criminals. They believe that everyone who is undocumented has committed a crime.
Well, everyone who has crossed the border illegally has committed a crime. That is automatic. And Tom Homan told that to her face. We saw that video yesterday. He told her to her face. And he cited even the part of the law says it. They're committing a crime just by crossing the border illegally. That is the first crime. This automatic crime, not to mention that they could be, have been charged for other crimes, maybe, I don't know, any other crimes, which makes it even worse. It makes it even worse. So it's like she's trying to paint this as in every illegal immigrant or anybody who crosses the border illegally, they are all innocent. This is not black and white. This is the way that they gaslight you. This is the way they confuse you. Oh, this is a black and white issue. This is a black and white issue. They are saying that everyone is a criminal. Trump at no point has said that every single illegal immigrant is a criminal. Trump hasn't said that. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't seen. If that clip existed, I'm sure that it would have been hammered over and over again everywhere. I haven't seen that. that there are criminals that only cross illegally the border, but also they commit crimes that is even worse. So maybe the Trump administration can start with those, with the most dangerous ones.
Even in this issue, the idea that there's like a big difference between an undocumented person that's been here for a while and an asylum seeker, which creates that like idea of like, I am more deserving.
Yes. Okay. I have to repeat that. I had to repeat that.
Undocumented person that's been here for a while and an asylum seeker, which creates that like idea of like, I am more deserving.
Yes, because that is some kind of meritocracy. Because if you want to be a U.S. citizen or at least reside, live in the United States, and you go for the trouble of doing it legally and take all the steps of doing it legally, you are effectively more deserving of anything than someone who crosses the border illegally. That is called meritocracy. That is called that you are a law-abiding citizen of maybe of other country, and you want to become a law-abiding citizen of the United States. Automatically, that should qualify you out. Okay, these people are the right stuff. And it's not that you're going to make the legal process easier. We are not asking for that. The legal process is always going to be a mess. But we are asking to be fair. And the resources that you're giving to illegal immigrants, just channel those to veterans and homeless people, American citizens in the United States. It's that simple. It's that simple. But yes, legal immigrants. Legal immigrants deserve more. It's that simple. And don't get me started with all those Latinos that say, but every legal immigrant at some point was an illegal, because that is brain dead. That is a brain dead take. That is a room temperature IQ take. Don't get me started with those. Let me see. This is the last part.
Was powerful, compelling, exploited to effect. In fact,
because it's true.
So much so that I started to pick up on this on the campaign trail, and I started to deliver a version.
I'm going to put you in double speed.
Of a speech where I started to clarify for people. He's talking about you, right? They're not just talking about like just quote unquote just trans people or just like he's talking about you.
Why are you just talking about trans people now?
You. And I had this speech because I think a lot of people didn't realize that he's talking about you. You're going to pay the tariff. Your family's going to be split up.
You're making a mess out of this. So I'm not going to be talking more about this. But this is the problem. This is a problem that I mentioned earlier. They don't have an actual argument for anything. They don't have a common sense argument. It doesn't stand any scrutiny. You begin to think about it. You mean that if you enter the United States legally or illegally, it's the same? How does that work? Then why would anybody would do it legally? What is the point? Illegally, you have to pay fees. You have to do paperwork. You have to. If you do it illegally, you have all these benefits. You are flown to any place in the United States that you want to be. You have handouts in sanctuary cities. It's just a mess. How does that work? Not common sense. And we are trying to make sense of all of this. But still, I would like to know, what do you think about this in the comments? This is so absurd.